Okay, so on these questions, we're going to start on TEK 3E. Determine the effects of the graph of a parent function, x, when f of x is replaced with our transformation. Okay, so we're given our parent function here. And then it says we want to look at the graph best represented by the transform function, negative f of x plus 3. Okay, so our parent function is x. So don't get bogged down by that negative f of x, all right? Now, that plus 3 means that we've shifted up 3 units. We took this point here and we moved it up 3 units on the graph. So every point would change and it would look something like this along the graph, all right? Just talking about in terms of the shift, okay? Now, that negative there outside the parentheses, that means that we've also flipped it. Now, it's negative f of x. So this would be, like if I were to rewrite this, this is the original parent function is y is equal to x. The transform function would be y is equal to negative x plus 3. Okay, we're affecting the axis. So now it's going to look something, instead of being down like that, it's going to be switched. Let me pull up a graph so that you can visualize it a little bit more. And really, honestly, use your graphing calculators when you do this to help you with the transformations. I think that that's going to make a big difference on terms of understanding this. Okay, so I'm going to go to my y equals, and my parent function is y is equal to x. Or if this was a quadratic function, your parent function would be y is equal to x squared, okay? So this is going to become negative x and then plus 3. And I'm going to graph. Now, the blue line was my parent function. The black line is my transform function. So now my graph still shifted up. My y-intercept is now at 3, but my slope is now negative. So let's look at our answer choices that match. So F and H definitely don't match. J is a positive slope, so that doesn't match. So that the only one that comes close to matching that is going to be G. All right? And as you can see here on the right, G is our correct answer choice. All right, let's look at our next one. So the graph of the linear functions f and g are shown on the grid below. Which function best represents the graph of g? So I'm going to highlight g because that's the one that we are looking at. Well, that doesn't have a y-intercept other than 0, okay? So that means that A has negative 4. That means that the y-intercept, or it's shifted down 4 units. So that's definitely not going to work. We don't have a shift down, up, or down. We don't have a shift along the y-axis from our parent function. Same with C. So, and both of B and D are outside the parentheses. And yes, you could find your slope, but you really don't need to. The f function is the parent function. I know it's the parent function because each one of these has this f has a slope of 1. So the f function, f of x, is our parent function. So that's f of x is equal to x, okay? G is something that we've done to f to change the transformation. Now, G is less steep because if you look at it, it's more flat than the parent function is. So that means that in terms of understanding the relationship of transform functions, when your a value, that value that's outside, when our graph is less steep than the parent function, then our value is going to be less than 1. So that's going to give me my answer choice B. Now, if it was more steep, so let's say our graph looked something like this, and this was G, then our answer choice would be D. Okay, so whenever that value, like here, like 1/3 or 3, this is going to be less steep, and this is going to be more steep. Okay? I'm going to do the next question in the next video because, again, I don't want it to get too long, and I want to be able to discuss these questions if needed because I know that transformations is one of those that a lot of students struggle with. All right, see you.